Sir David, and I want to thank my honourable friend for Bladen for commencing this debate this afternoon. I declare an interest, if I may, Sir David, as the chair of the Usdaw group of members of Parliament and a member of Usdaw, the Union of Shop, Distributive and Allied Workers. And I'm particularly pleased to take part in this debate because I think it's very important that we send a message to the Minister that we think that the retail sector is an important contributor to the UK economy that employs millions of people and is key to the regeneration of our local towns and communities, but also key to the employment across the country of many, many people. There are currently some 3 million people in direct employment in retail and about 1.5 million people in related activity dependent on the success of our high streets. And our high streets are the fabric of our communities, and we do need to look at what we can do to protect them. Now, self-evidently, my honourable friend for Bladen and the honourable gentleman, the member for Henley, have raised some of the challenges that are there in the high street at the moment. Disposable income for many people is falling. There are real challenges on the economy as a whole, which means there's less money spent locally on some key issues. The issue of online sales is a particularly big challenge. I will have bought things online, as everybody else in this community and house will have done. But it's important that we put some context to that and we look at what that challenge poses, as I hope I will do in the short time I've got. I'll give way to my honourable friend.
There's not only the impact on the shopping centres, but you've also got district centres and the outlying districts of towns, and that's having a major impact there as well. And it's noticeable, coming back to the honourable gentleman's point, that a lot of the banks, even the cash points, some of them are closing them down, and banks are shedding a lot of labour these days, and that has got an impact on people in cities.
I agree wholeheartedly with my honourable friend. I mean, disposable income is one of the big issues, first of all. Online sales is a second one. The issue of the cost of shops and rental and the cost of rates and business rates is certainly another. The impact of out-of-town shopping, which again employs many people in my constituency. Many of my constituents work at Cheshire Oaks, in my honourable friend for Ellesmere Port and Eston's constituency, but it doesn't hide the fact that out-of-town shopping and big shopping centres are dragging people away from smaller towns. The loss of government offices in many towns, the local DWP office or the local post office or the local doctors and dentist surgeries in many towns to stop the footfall going through towns, and they're all challenges. This year we've seen a 2.4% fall in the number of staff employed in the retail sector. Now that doesn't sound a great deal. That is 74,000 people are now not employed in the retail sector who were at the start of this year. Vacancy levels in town centres are now at 10%, the highest for 4 years. And as my honourable friend mentioned, some key big employers in many of our areas are folding. So I think the key thing from this debate I want to see, Sir David, is the government recognising that shops are a generator of economic value. And we need to look, therefore, at what we can do to support those shops. My honourable friend from Bladen again has mentioned the industrial strategy for retail produced by the Union of Shop, Distributive and Allied Workers. There's a blueprint there for ideas which are worthy of discussion, and I want the Minister to hopefully focus on some of those, look at them and see whether they are applicable to government and to the devolved administrations as a whole. But what I think we need to do, and I've just got a couple of points I want to throw into the mix, Sir David. First of all, I think we need to look at how we can support the maintenance of key drivers of footfall in town centres. That means the government needs to look at what they are doing on post offices, what they're doing on supporting government businesses in town centres, what they're doing on supporting the doctors and dentist surgeries in town centres, what they're doing to ensure that we have an offer in town centres that brings people into those town centres. Because, as has been said, town centres have to be places of destination as well as places of shopping. And we can do that by anchoring key government facilities in those town centres, but also looking at what we can do to add value to the town centres through local council and local government support. You know, for example, the whole idea of improving the built environment, the whole idea of potentially planting trees, putting bushes in. If empty shops are there, finding ways in which the local council and others can use exhibition space, can use display space in those empty shops to bring people in, to make them places of venture is particularly important. I want to see again, like the Honourable Gentleman for Henley, some integrated issues around planning. If we can find ways to bring in shops into town centres, certainly, but also in houses into town centres. I had a scheme when I was honoured to be a minister in Northern Ireland. I had a scheme where we used above the shops to put single and immediately married couples into houses above shops to ensure that they had the ability to use the town centre but also to fill empty vacancies as a whole. The online shopping tax, it's been suggested in the Usdaw strategy, it's an issue that needs to be looked at. Not just Usdaw, Tesco's chief executive has indicated he wants to look at potential for a shop tax. Now, an online tax might be, a 1 or 2% levy on online transactions, which would potentially help balance the initiative towards supporting people buying in retail. I don't want to put the cost up to consumers, but it's worthy of consideration. The issue that's been mentioned by my honourable friend of car parking and transport links are extremely important. The issue that we will discuss and have raised in relation to business rates is extremely important. In Wales, in my part of the world, we have a small business rate relief scheme providing rate relief for businesses up to £6,000 of rateable value with 100% relief. And we have a high street relief scheme which supplies £23.6 million worth of rate relief for shops in town centres. That helps anchor and keep businesses in those town centres. And finally, Sir David, just to give some examples, in Holywell, in my own constituency, we recently lost all of the banks bar one. But with the help of a company called Square, we had some potential into the town centre where we put online transactions in the town centre where people could actually use machines to do that, provided free by Square to help support retailers in the town. We've had support through a range of activities, through festivals, through theatre, through a range of arts groups, trying to put footfall into the towns. All of that is part of a retail strategy. All of that requires not just the shops themselves, but local councils, government, and other private sector organisations trying to support a focus on retail and not a drawing away from retail. So I commend the industrial strategy to the Minister from Usdaw. I commend her to look at some of those ideas, and I look forward to her commenting on what's been raised today in due course.